Well. Aftermath of Bud Crawford versus David Avanesyan. First, salute to everybody that has dropped in late tonight, or I guess it's technically like what, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., something like that on the East Coast. I appreciate you guys coming in. I want to come and give you guys my post fight thoughts. I originally was planning to do some live commentary. But unfortunately, I couldn't get my shit working, man. My cam wasn't connecting. My microphone wasn't connecting. It was one of those things. But I did watch the fight. I wasn't able to watch the Teofimo Lopez fight. So I'm not quite sure what happened in that fight. I was more so watching the Terrence Crawford and Avanesyan fight and then just trying to set up my shit to come on here and give you guys my post-fight thoughts. So let me give you guys my thoughts in regards to that fight. I mean, I don't remember what round it was exactly when the knockout happened. Somebody can remind me in the chat. I think it was like maybe 5 or 6. But if you guys were a part of my live yesterday, when I gave you guys my prediction, what did I say? What did I say? I told you guys that it's going to be around 7. So I was wrong. I was 1 round off, and the fight went exactly how I thought it was going to go. I knew that David would come in, try to smother, try to pressure, walk forward with the high guard, and kind of see if he can take Bud into the deep rounds. That was his game plan. It was very apparent and very clear. His game plan was to try and walk walk Bud in the deep rounds and see if he can get some wear and tear and maybe pull something off late. And yeah, I mean, I was sitting here watching it thinking like, yo, this is literally exactly how I thought it was going to play out. I almost felt like deja vu, like I've seen this movie before. David Avanesyan had a few moments, a few punches that landed quite flush on Bud. A lot of the commentating was trying to suggest that, Bud, he might be buzzed, but I don't think he was really hurt. But he was definitely caught, but I knew that was going to happen. And I knew that. I think that landing some of those shots would have, I think it would have given David some false security. And that's exactly what happened. I think he landed a couple of shots. He got a little bit more brave. He got a little bit more confident. He continued to press the fight. But what really shined through tonight was Bud's experience and his skills and being patient. It didn't really look like he was ever in danger. The first couple of rounds, like I told everybody yesterday when I went live, Bud's not going to do much in the first couple of rounds. I mean, I still think that he won the rounds, but he didn't do that much, right? Because it's going to take him a couple of rounds to feel it out, to see what Dave is going to bring to the table. Once he finds that range and finds that timing, he's going to start sitting down on punches from range, hit the body, and start picking David apart. And that high guard defense starts to peel away over time. And that's exactly what happened. So, like I said, man, I continue to tell people this shit. I don't know how much you guys pay attention, but there is a poll live in the YouTube chat. Let me know what you think. I mean, now this is what it is now, right? Now we talk about what's next. For me, this victory was not a surprise. I predicted a round 7 stoppage. It ended up being 6. On point. I mean, this is exactly what the fuck I've been saying. As soon as they announced this fight, this is exactly why I wasn't excited about this fight at all. And it's like, I'm not hating on Bud. Bud went in there and did exactly what he was supposed to do. I mean, the pressure was on him to basically get the knockout. I mean, how do you not knock this dude out? So in a way, he accomplished that, because God forbid it went 12 rounds in a dogfight, or a 12-round decision was kind of lackluster. He definitely couldn't afford that. So he got the knockout that, quite frankly, he needed, right? I mean, a lot of people are not satisfied with this fight. So the least you can do is knock the dude out. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So he did do that. So it's going to be interesting on how the media is going to swing the conversation now. You're going to have people like myself who essentially is going to say, hey, I wasn't excited about the fight. I pretty much predicted this. He got the knockout. Great. Does it change my mind? Does it elevate my mindset in regards to him and Spence? Like, oh, he knocked out David Avanesyan. Oh man, he's legit, or he's more of a threat to Spence now. Not really, because the quality of opponents matter. That shit matters. Skywalker Box in the building. What's good, bro? I see you in the chat. Teach, what's good? Make sure you guys come in, man. Hit that like button right away. I mean, how the fuck are we gonna have 28 people in here and only 7 likes? Don't do me like that. You know what I mean? It's free. Wipe your feet off, ring the doorbell, and hit the damn like button. All right. And in the meantime, y'all can vote in the poll. Let me know what you guys think about Bud's future. But essentially, I'm not really intrigued that much. Now, if this was a situation where Bud knocked out Boots Ennis, the conversation's completely different, because, like I said, the quality of opponents matter. Right? The quality of opponents matter. So, I mean, what are we really talking about here? Now, some parts of the media is going to try to spin it, and suggest that, wow, what a phenomenal performance, what a phenomenal knockout, this, that, and the third. Like, hey, Spence is in trouble. Like, hey, did you see what he did? He put this dude on his back. He flatlined him. I mean, but ladies and gentlemen, let me be the one, if I have to give you guys a humble reminder. This is a guy, David Avanesyan, who's ranked like number 6 or 7. You know what I'm saying? This is not a number 1 contender. I mean, this guy was, I don't want to say he was put in there to get knocked out, but I mean, basically, yeah. He was put in there to keep Bud Crawford in the winning column. And if anybody gets upset at that, then feel free to comment or voice your opinion. But I don't know. I mean, if you're a Bud Crawford fan, for sure, celebrate the victory. Congratulations. Your man won by knockout. Great performance. But let's keep it real. I mean, we're not talking about a guy who just recently won a belt, a guy who's, just starting to defend his title or titles, right? I mean, this is a guy that is considered pound for pound best in the world. That's where the media has him. That's where a lot of people have him. So the standard and the expectation is set much higher, right? Than just throw anybody in there, a number 6 guy, you knock him out. You're supposed to knock him out. You're supposed to. Monopoly Ron was good. So I just don't see anything other than you fought a number 6 guy. You're the pound for pound best fighter in the world. You went in there and did what you did. I don't really see anything more than that. But let's talk more specifically about Spence then, okay? Because we know that Spence watched the fight. You know what I mean? We know that he watched the fight. And if I'm Earl Spence, what am I thinking? Right? What am I thinking right now? Well, not much, to be honest. Not much other than pretty good knockout against a guy who's number 6. But David Avanesyan is not me. Right? So this is the question that I have for Bud fans. And this is the link in the chat. Anybody that wants to come in as like a post-fight chop session, feel free to click the link and come in. If you're a troll, I'll fucking drop kick your head up out of here. For the most part, I know the family, so feel free. But this is my question for the Bud fans, right? If you're going to parade the victory, which fine, you're a Bud fan, you have that right. I have fighters that I consider my favorite fighters, right? If my fighter wins, I'm gonna celebrate it, rightfully so. But after the celebration is done and all of the confetti is on the ground, then the question is, let's be real here. What do you think Spence would have done to a David Avanesyan? That's my question for the people in the chat. What do you think Spence would have done? What he would have done better or worse? I mean, if you were to ask my opinion, Earl Spence would more or less do the same. I think Earl Spence would stop David Avanesyan anywhere from round 5 to round 8. So there's really no distinct difference here. This is exactly why true boxing fans that understand the sport and know what benefits the sport the most wants Earl Spence and Bud Crawford to fight. This is exactly why, ladies and gentlemen. This is exactly why these big fights need to happen. Because we get this lackluster shit. We get these pound for pound fighters fighting number 6 guys. Like, what the fuck is the purpose of that? Especially with Bud and he's like a veteran in the game now. He's in his mid to late 30s. He's been considered pound for pound for several years now. So what the fuck was the point of this fight other than keeping him in the W column? Now, let me reiterate what I said in my live last night. A very few people came into that live because it was a very very quick live. But let me reiterate for a moment. We have to remind ourselves of the pathway, I guess, essentially, of these fighters and the pathway that they take. And the hopscotching around, the leaps and bounds, or the shortcuts, if you will, of avoiding these big fights. And a fight like this tonight, I mean, as a boxing fan, what do we want, right? As a true boxing fan, number one, we want a good fight. We want a competitive fight. We want to be on the edge of our seat. We want to be in the room watching or at the fight itself, thinking to ourselves, you know what? I don't know who's going to win this fight. This fight is too fucking close because the caliber of the two fighters are extremely high. That's what we want. As boxing fans, we don't ask for that much, really, because we, for the most part, those who really love boxing, we pay for the ESPN Plus and the pay-per-views and this Black Prime channel. A lot of people paid for it, right? And I paid for it. I admit it, partially because I couldn't. I tried to live stream the shit and I couldn't find any, so I just said fuck it and I paid for it. But we pay for the shit, and in return, we don't ask for much. The only thing that we ask for as true boxing fans is the best fighting the best. I mean, is that really too much to ask? Now, a fight like what we saw tonight, sure, it'll entertain the casual fans. The casual fans were entertained more or less because they're Bud Crawford fans. They just want to see Bud. They'll watch Bud fight anybody. They'll watch Bud fight the mailman. You know, they'll watch Bud fight the Budweiser driver. They'll watch Bud fight anybody. Right? And unfortunately, boxing, like a lot of sports, is all about volume, right? Money based off of volume. The casual fans or a fan of a certain fighter is always going to outnumber and outweigh the true diehard boxing fans. In case in point, I am a Spence fan. I'm also a Bud fan. I appreciate both of their skills. Now, if they were to fight each other, I would lean more towards, as far as a fan is being concerned, I would say that I'm slightly more a Spence fan than I am a Bud fan. But to be honest with you, I don't know who the fuck's going to win that fight, bro. Like, I haven't dissected it to the point analytically, stylistically, doing a lot of film study yet, because obviously they haven't fucking announced a fight. And I refuse to put that type of energy in that. Andrew Charles in the building. What's good? Who else we got in here? Chavo TV in the building. What's up? Let's see if I missed anybody else in the chat. Sorry, I get cooking sometimes. I don't see the chat. Destiny Black in the building. What's good? How you doing tonight? Says I got too many Earl Sprint fans in here. I hear you, man, but it's mixed, man. That's the cool thing about Divine's channel. Is I have a nice little mix when it comes to Spence and Crawford in particular. It's a nice little mix on my channel because more or less I keep it straight down the middle. I keep it straight down the middle. And I'm unbiased. And I have no problem telling the truth on how I feel about things. I don't go at Bud like a lot of channels out here do. People conduct their channels the way they want to conduct it, right? And for me, whatever. I mean, I just honestly don't have the energy to go at any fighter like that to that extent. I mean, if I wanted to spend a weekly chapters on Tyson Fury, I mean, I can fucking make a whole channel on that. There's plenty to talk about. I mean, I haven't even talked about the fight that happened recently between Fury and what's his name? His name is so irrelevant that I refuse to mention it. Such a dog shit of a fight. I haven't even talked about it yet. I mean, that's just it. I just feel like it's so irrelevant. And then Fury's out here talking about Usyk. It's like, man, don't get me started on that. But because I've been gone for a little while, I might as well do a little bit of backtrack and dig up some of these crates, these fights that I've missed since I haven't went live for a while. and give my thoughts on a potential Tyson Fury fight with whoever. But we'll stay focused for the time being. Nitty G in the building. What's good, Nitty G? Hope you're good out there. So the people that are coming in late and just dropping in, make sure y'all hit that like button. We got 38 people in here and only 18 likes. I don't know what's happening with that. I guess people just like to sit at the buffet and not bring shit. We got a potluck dinner and people ain't even bring no fucking dessert or nothing. I guess that's how people do it around here. Anyway, taking another look at the poll here. And the question in the poll is, does this win prove that Bud will beat Spence? And 21% says definitely Spence in trouble. And 79% says, nah, this win don't mean shit. So that's where the poll stands right now. We'll see where it goes along the way. Andrew Charles says, I'm not trying to argue tonight. Speaking for myself, I enjoyed the fight. It's never a waste of time to witness greatness in the ring. We underappreciate these moments in the social media age. So, I mean, I'm going to acknowledge that comment, Andrew. I got love for you. I got love for you. I got respect for you. Long-time subscriber. I feel what you're saying, bro. I do. I feel what you're saying. But I feel like we have to be critical on all levels no matter what. No, despite the greatness and despite the fact that, yeah, we did get to see Bud back in the ring. Obviously, even though I'm not excited about the fight because I already know going in that Bud's going to knock this dude out. That's what I was saying, Andrew, is like, for me, the pinnacle of a boxing fan is going into a fight or going to watch a fight and not really knowing who's going to win. Right? You might lean slightly one way or another because you might be a fan of a certain fighter, but internally, that anything can happen. Like, I don't really fucking know. Right? That's the pinnacle of being a boxing fan. This fight tonight, Andrew, was nothing of the sort. It was literally like, well, when's Bud gonna knock him out? You know what I mean? Everybody 95% of the people in the media predicted Bud to knock him out. And he almost had to knock him out to prove that David is not on his level, right? So that's how I feel about it. Now, let me pinpoint more so about the witnessing greatness, okay? And I don't dispute the fact that Bud is not an extremely talented fighter. Do I think he's one of the all-time greats? That's debatable, okay? That's a whole nother conversation. Is he a great fighter of this era? Yeah, I'll put him up there. Extremely talented fighter, okay? But let me put this in perspective. This is why we need consistency. This is when boxing gets watered down, in my opinion. There is a lack of consistency. I'll give you an example. Floyd Mayweather, right? One of my personal favorite fighters of this generation. I watched Floyd when he was in the Olympics. I watched Floyd coming up, dominating the lower weight classes, Pretty Boy Floyd, all that stuff, and then became Money May. Like, I know Floyd's resume inside and out. I spoke about it for years. A lot of his fights were extremely high-level fights. He's got a lot of guys on his resume that are either current Hall of Famers or will be a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done, right? And quite honestly, I don't think Floyd and Bud Crawford's resume even fucking compare. And we're talking about two fighters that are in very similar weight classes, similar paths, being considered pound for pound and whatnot, right? But Floyd has some fights that I thought were like, well, that's not a fight I'm really excited about. For example, Floyd Mayweather versus Robert Guerrero. I knew that Robert Guerrero had no fucking chance in this lifetime of ever beating Floyd Mayweather. If they fought 100 times, Floyd would beat Guerrero 100 fucking times. Just like if Bud fought Avanesyan 100 times, he would beat him 100 times and probably knock him out 90 times out of the 100. Right? Bud's a different fighter than Floyd. Bud can turn it up, sit down on punches, and drop you, knock you out. Floyd, by the time he fought Robert, was just a defensively sound and mechanical fighter that will just pinpoint you and beat the brakes off you for 12 rounds, right? So different styles, but nonetheless, Robert Guerrero was not even close to the caliber of fighter as Floyd was. That was a money grab fight. That was Floyd benefiting off of Robert Guerrero beating whoever the fuck he beat it. I think it was like Andre Berto or some shit. And he had a belt and he rode that wave and sold the fight, right? Did I enjoy watching Floyd's greatness in the ring and beat the brakes off of Robert Guerrero? 100%. And that's exactly what he did. He beat the dog shit out of Robert Guerrero, right? I enjoyed it, sure, watching the sweet science that Floyd portrays in the ring. However, I am not absent of criticism to point out the fact that the Robert Guerrero fight really didn't mean shit. And going into the fight, I was never worried about what the result was going to be. I knew Floyd would beat that ass. Right? Now, majority of, well, probably like, I don't know, 98% of Floyd's fights going into it, obviously, one, being a Floyd fan, two, boxing, Floyd is an extremely difficult person to beat. You can always kind of slightly favor Floyd in pretty much every fight that he's ever had, right? Well, he was an underdog early in his career, but you guys get my point. But the Manny Pacquiao fight, there were a lot of people that thought that Manny Pacquiao was that, well, he's that guy. He's that guy. They built Manny Pacquiao this fucking superhero. And people put people in a position to say, oh, man, I don't know who's going to win this fight. Now, I knew Floyd was going to win, but it kept me on the edge of my seat. It kept me entertained on a different level in comparison to a fucking Robert Guerrero. And if you understand my point and what I'm trying to make here is hit the fire emoji in the chat. DP Rocker in the building. What's good, my man, DP? Who we got here? Specs. Is that how you pronounce your name, bro? I'm not sure. SP3CKZ. I see you, bro. I appreciate you dropping in. We got a super chat here, but my man, Monopoly Run. Monopoly Run, what's good with you? He says, elites and greats get thrown around too much. Fighting low-level comp ain't proven nothing. Wouldn't even say Spence was next. Just ducking, man. Sad. I appreciate the super chat, man. Much love and appreciation, bro. Yeah, and you know what? I didn't hear the post-fight the post-fight interview because when the fight was done, I was here setting up my live stream. So I don't know what was said by Bud. And if what you're saying is true, Monopoly Run, and post-fight he didn't mention Spence or call out Spence, I mean, yeah, that's sad, right? Well, people can cut it and slice it however they want. They can say, oh, the Divine, they don't matter, bro. They don't fucking matter. Like, Crawford doesn't have to mention Spence. Maybe he's tired of talking about Spence. Maybe he's got to the point where he doesn't have the patience to talk about Spence anymore. Well, okay, I guess, but it doesn't negate the fact that Spence, after his last victory, he literally called out Crawford by his fucking name in front of everybody on the mic, live on TV, and everybody in attendance, right? So it's just like one of those things where you just have to recognize that, and you have to consider that. You know what I mean? And yo, hold on some second, man. Someone's calling me. One moment. All right, my bad, y'all. Sunday morning out here, man. You know what I mean? Sunday afternoon, actually. A lot of shit popping off. Anyway, yeah. Devin Blocker in the building was good, man. I see you in the building. Jeff Spark in the building was good. C Wood in the building, man. It's been a minute. I feel like I haven't been live in a long ass time, man. So it's good to see the family dropping in. Much love and appreciation. Hope you guys have had a good Saturday night, man. Enjoying. I mean, yeah, in a way, it's always a pleasure to watch boxing. And that's my point to my man Andrew, is that obviously I watched Bud. I just watched him fight David Avanesyan. I watched him fight because it's Bud Crawford. He's a big name in the sport. He's a very skillful fighter. I like to see him perform, just like Floyd Mayweather. He's one of the best to ever do it. I'm going to enjoy him fighting. I want to say, I won't say anybody, but you know, most fighters. I would just watch. I would just love to see him display his skills. But a Robert Guerrero and Floyd Mayweather fight was bullshit. I mean, in the sense of, you know, quality of fighter and resume, it was pretty much useless. It was a fight to stay active and grab some money off the coattail of Robert Guerrero beating Andre fucking Berto or whatever it was, right? Just like this fight here. I watched it because I like to see Bud display his skills. But am I going to sit up here and be like, oh, man, this is a great fight. This is a great fight for his legacy. This is going to propel him to a different level. This proves that he can beat Spence now. And for everybody that voted in the poll here on YouTube saying, and the question is, does this win prove that Bud will beat Spence? The people that voted definitely Spence is in trouble. For the people that voted for that one, for that option, I got no beef with you. Hey, the poll's there for a reason. Voice your opinion. But my question for you is, if you think Spence is in trouble, and if you think that this proves the fight over or Bud knocking out David Avanesyan, if that proves now, even if you're more confident now that Bud will beat Spence based off of this knockout victory, I have a simple question for you. What would Spence do to David Avanesyan? I'll wait in the chat. I'll wait for the chat to answer that question. What would Earl Spence Jr. do to David Avanesyan if tonight it wasn't Bud Crawford and David Avanesyan and Spence versus Avanesyan? What would Spence do to Avanesyan? It's a fucking fair question and an honest question to ask. And I'll wait. I'll wait for that reply. Rather, you're a Spence or a Spence or a Crawford fan. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. What do you think Spence would do to David Avanesyan? If you want to ask me, Spence would more or less do the same. You know what I mean? Like, what are we really talking about? Spence would knock out David Avanesyan anywhere from round 5 to 8, which is exactly what I said last night in my live. I said Bud will win by knockout from round 5 to 8. Right? So that's what it is. Flawless mentality in the building was good with you. Always good to have you in the building. But look, guys, like, unfortunately, I have somebody waiting downstairs for me. So I got to go here in a few minutes. I appreciate everybody dropping in here. Make sure, though, you do me a huge favor and get the likes all the way up. We got 50 people in here and only 30 likes. So that means we have a 20-person discrepancy from the views and the likes, right? I haven't been live in a while. I've, missed chopping it up with you guys. So even if you don't agree with what I'm saying, which I don't know why you wouldn't, at least hit that like button for the sake of, Divine Sense Boxing is back on the mic. So these are the things. Like, so when people cruise around YouTube, you go around to your favorite channels, tomorrow we're all going to be, a lot of us will be back on here talking about Bud and Spence again, right? It was all, the Spence and Crawford fight was put on ice because the fight fell through. Bud announced David Avanesyan. And so we're kind of just sitting and waiting for Bud to knock out David Avanesyan. So now that that's done, we switch gears. And now the next topic at hand will be like, well, it's what I'm literally talking about right now. Does this fight prove anything? Does it mean anything? My opinion is no, it doesn't. Here's another question for you guys out there in the chat. If we're going to give a bunch of credit to Bud knocking out David Avanesyan, are we going to give that same type of credit to Errol Spence if he does indeed fight Keith Thurman and knocks out Keith Thurman? As a matter of fact, which victory rather carries more weight? Which has more luster? Which one deserves more accolades? Who's the better fighter? Who has a better resume / legacy in this era of this generation of welterweights, specifically Keith Thurman or David Avanesyan? I mean, I don't even think it's a fucking debate. So remember, guys, I always talk about consistency, right? We got to be consistent. My man Andrew Charles, got much love for my man Andrew. My man Andrew comes in and says, well, I think we're downgrading the fight a little bit. I enjoyed watching greatness from Bud. I got you. When Floyd fought Robert Guerrero, I enjoyed watching greatness. But the consistency comes into play where, yes, I enjoyed watching Bud do his thing, watching his skills on full display. However, the guy that he fought is not worthy of an extreme amount of credibility and or appreciation. He was supposed to win, just like Floyd was supposed to beat Robert Guerrero. And that's where it stands. If Bud beat Boots Ennis, different topic. When Floyd beat Manny Pacquiao, different topic. Caliber of fighters make a massive difference. So that's just my stance. My man Seedwood in the building says, I expect Earl to stop Thurman to the body, in parentheses, and offer up full credit for that win. I mean, yeah. So, this is what it is, right? And these two guys are juggling the fight, right, between themselves. Like, are we going to fight? Whose fault is it? I'm not going to even go down that road. That's a whole nother road to go down that I don't have time for in regards to who's at fault for not. Like, tonight shouldn't have been Bud versus Avanesyan. Tonight should have been Bud versus Spence. We all know this. No matter what side of the fence you stand on, boxing fans tonight, in my opinion, got fucked over. I don't give a fuck how you cut it or slice it. Boxing fans got fucked over because we got a fight between the pound-for-pound best against a number 6 guy. He knocks him out. Great. Nice little fight. Enjoyed watching it for what it's worth. I enjoyed watching it for what it's worth. But the fact of the matter is, it should have been Bud and Spence. So no matter what side of the fence you stand on, we got to keep that in the back of our mind. Like, what are we really talking about here? If you're a Bud fan, by all means, pop the confetti. Congratulations, my man Bud looked great. Got the guy out of there, knocked him out. But like I said, when all the confetti's on the ground and the party's over, are you willing to say, oh, man, but it would have been nice if Bud knocked out Errol Spence? It should have been Errol Spence on his backside tonight, not David Avanesyan. That's what it should have been tonight. We have to recognize that as boxing fans. That's what we always have to do. If we don't do that, then boxers will continue to not give us the fights that we deserve. We put our passion, our time, our efforts, our energy into this sport, and we continue to get fucked over because we continue to not call out the bullshit. And if the media was unbiased and the media was, if they were really truly boxing fans, which many of them aren't, they're in the business for money and accreditation. But if they're truly a boxing fans, like a lot of them claim to be, they would press Bud Crawford. They would go to the post-fight conference with mic at hand and say, hey, Bud, no disrespect, bro. We appreciate, love your skills. Congratulations on the KO victory. But we all know that tonight should have been Earl Spence. What's good with you and Earl Spence? You're the pound-for-pound best. We want to hear from the champ. That's how the media should approach it. Instead of pampering him and, putting powder on his ass and babying him and catering to him because nobody wants to fucking be that guy, right, that asks the hard questions and gets called out at a press conference. Is it disrespectful to speak for the fucking people and ask a real fucking hard question? That's not disrespect. And if a fighter can't take a real question like that, then do not consider them as the people's champion, because they're fucking not. As a people's champion represents the people and wants to put on the fights for the people, because guess what? Guess who pays your bills? Guess who puts those cars into your garages and give you those nice houses so you and also money to support your family? It's us. Right? So that is my stance. That is always my stance. But unfortunately, I do got to roll up out of here. Quick post-fight thoughts, man. Hey, again, for what it's worth, congratulations for Bud Crawford for the knockout victory. Thank you for basically getting my prediction spot on. I predicted round 7. He got it done in 6. So thank you, Bud, for providing that and making me look smart on the mic. I'll give Bud Crawford credit for that. He makes me look smart on this bitch because that's what I predicted. But like I said, congratulations for what it is worth. That's it. Nothing more than that. He knocked out a number 6 guy. All eyes on Earl Spence now and what he's going to do next. He needs to get back in the ring too. Every moment he waits, he gets more rusty. I know he stays in shape. I know he's always sharp. But let's be honest. He needs to get in the ring. And if you're Earl Spence right now, you see this, you got to top it. You got to top this victory. If you can't get Bud in there, you got to go fight somebody and practice what you preach, right? And you got to top this victory. You got to go in there and fight a number 1, 2, like minimum number 3 guy and get him out of there to prove a point. Don't do what Bud did and go fight a number 7, number 8, number 6 guy. Like, don't do that, because this is Divine Sense Boxing we talking to right now. I'm going to keep it straight down the line every fucking time. So we'll wait and see. But I'll be back on here again soon. Maybe I'll come on here live again tomorrow because I'm going to spend some time listening to what all these other dudes out here. I mean, I'm sure the videos are popping off all over YouTube right now. I'm going to have to go and hear 78's thoughts because I think we went live at the same time. Listen to him and a few others. And maybe I'll collect and get some different perspective. And I'll come back on here and we can chop it up again. I'll drop a link, maybe open up a panel. Last thing I want to say is, hey, shout out to Blue Blood Sports. My man is sitting ringside commentating the fight with Paulie Malignaggi, Antonio Tarver. Man, Blue has done some amazing things for this sport. Hate him or love him, Blue Blood is like literally the example of grinding and hustling to like beyond imagination for this sport, coming from, from the bottom essentially, and building his channel and building his name and building his brand to the point where now he's ringside commentating fights. I've never seen anything like that for all the years that I've been on the mic talking boxing and seeing many different channels maneuver. Some succeed in different ways, but Blue Blood has like went beyond what any other YouTube channel has ever done before. So salute to Blue Blood, man. And if anybody knows Blue Blood, please let him know that your boy Divine Sense gave him a massive shout out here on the live stream. And I would love to chop it up with him about boxing, that'll be an honor. And yeah, I saw the man ringside. And I was like, damn, my man's out there putting that work, man. And I gotta recognize that. I gotta recognize that, man. So shout out. So I'm gonna get up out of here. Y'all stay up, staying strong, staying positive out there. It's getting late. Make sure you guys get some sleep, man. Take care of take care of that body, take care of that mind, refresh. We'll be back on here to chop it up again soon. Hopefully I'll get a panel together. And yeah, man. Once again, congratulations to Bud for what it's worth. The man made me look good. He got my prediction right. And all eyes on Earl Spence now. All eyes on what's going to happen from here. A lot more to talk about, but I got to get up out of here. So we'll be back on here again soon. Y'all stay up, stay strong.